Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic abuse and narcissistic relationships, with the hope that what you learn on this channel can help you heal if you've already been in one of these relationships and ideally avoid one if it's not already happened. I'm just hoping to make sense of a very complicated landscape that is often hard to get some good information on. So we're going to start this video is the beginning of a new series, and it's really going to ask you, what kind of narcissistic relationship are you in? I don't mean grandiose and all that. We got that. Cause that stuff, grandiose, vulnerable, it kind of describes the people, the narcissist in the relationship. But these relationships are all a little bit different. And as I was sort of breaking some work down recently, I was like, wow, these all have different typologies to them. Defining the narcissistic relationship solely by the quality of the narcissist misses something. It actually misses what kind of also keeps someone in the game in these relationships. So that's what this series takes on. I'm going to go through all the types in this series, and then when it's done, we'll sort of do a recap. So then you can say, this is the kind of narcissistic relationship I'm in. Now I see that. Okay. So let's start this series. Let's take this on. And for those of you who are new to this channel, because you can see it's almost kind of interactive, please subscribe, join this great community, and hit the notifications button if you want to get notifications each time we put out a new video. So let's take on this new series. So when we think of the different types of narcissistic relationships, what we do know is that there's many different kinds of narcissism: the grandiose, vulnerable, malignant, communal, self-righteous, and on and on. And we've used these terms to describe the relationship, right? A grandiose narcissistic relationship, a communal narcissistic relationship. But then we're defining the quality of the relationship solely by the narcissist. It's a little bit more complicated than that. Even relationships, again, by the subtype, so a relationship with a grandiose narcissist, can also vary. And that's because the people in the relationship with a grandiose narcissist may be different and have different mindsets. And these different types represent a mashup not just of the type of narcissism, but also the type of target and the mindset of the person stuck in the relationship. In my work so far, I've identified by about 12 different subtypes. I'm sure as I go on, I'll think of more, as will you. And people get, though, stuck in these relationships, or the quality of these relationships can vary on the type. So let's talk about the first kind of narcissistic relationship, and this is the happiness hoarded relationship. It's not a great name, but it's all I was able to come up with. The happiness hoarded narcissistic relationship really comes out of the breadcrumbing dynamic that we so often observe in narcissistic relationships. These are the folks who learn to live on less and less in the relationship while perhaps enduring more and more manipulation and gaslighting and devaluation. These relationships are like panning for gold. Like you spend hours sticking that sifter thing in the water and shaky. And then if you're lucky, after all that time, you might get a few little tiny bits of gold. The happiness hoarded dynamic is a relationship where the person works zealously to find those little nuggets of gold, to set those little good moments, even if they occur alongside 20 bad moments, and just hold on to those tiny little nuggets, those little breadcrumbs. The happiness hoarded people out there are very skillful at pulling out the tiny moments and putting them aside. It's almost like if you're one of those people who likes to collect the treasures we get on the beach and put them aside in a little old cigar box and look at the treasures later on. I guess one could argue there's a certain wisdom and danger, but also danger to the happiness hoarded relationship in general. And I do have to say that the wisdom of these relationships is being wasted on the narcissist. The happiness hoarded relationship really is the person who's able to revel in the moment during the beach day with the narcissist for the 20 minutes when the picnic turned out well and the wind wasn't blowing, but they're able to ignore the fight in the car, the rage fit that the narcissist had when the umbrella wasn't set right, the frustration at the children, the adult tantrum they threw in the parking lot, and the gaslighting about whether the towels got packed. But in the happiness hoarded relationship, the non-narcissistic person will hold on to that 20-minute picnic and somehow manage to ignore the rest. And this persists through life. They're the ones who are able to look at the pictures on the wall and remember the happy day, and talk about it as such, and never talk about the abusive behavior that occurred before and after the picture was taken. They hoard. It's a relationship where the little moments of happiness are hoarded. The happiness hoarded relationship involves people who are actually doing what so many positive psychology folks and gratitude experts talk about, right? They're pulling out those good moments and having lots of gratitude. That's all good. But is it good for a person to be in a happiness hoarded relationship with a narcissist? No. The danger is that the abuse is taking a toll on the person in the happiness hoarded relationship. And this is also closely related to another type of narcissistic relationship I'll be talking about, which is the denial relationship, and more on that is coming in the coming weeks. The denial relationship shares top notes with the happiness hoarded relationship model. But the difference is that the straight up deniers and the denier relationships do not do the happiness hoarding bit. They just act like the whole relationship is normal. With the happiness hoarded relationship, there's really an intention of pulling out those good moments and making the relationship only about those good moments. But the dangers include ignoring the toll of ongoing psychological abuse and the invalidation of the narcissistic relationship, which can ultimately make a person in this relationship sick, and enabling the narcissistic behavior and not hearing the pain and the painful experiences of those around them, and missing the patterns in the relationship that can be a big problem. For example, financial misbehavior, infidelity, or other relational mismanagement, which could really come back and bite a person in this kind of relationship. Happiness hoarded relationships have sort of a throwback feel to them. If you were to look at a women's magazine from the 1950s or even the early 1960s, there are these medieval articles on how to keep a husband happy, how to greet them when they come home late, how to subjugate every emotion you have and push them down, or push away every feeling to keep that checked out husband happy, how to thank them for whatever minuscule thing they do. Basically, these magazines were advocating for breadcrumbing with plastered smiles and Stepford vibes. Women of that era were taught to be happy because they had a house and an oven and a brand new washing machine and just the blessing of being a wife. This narcissistic abuse stuff has been happening for a while. We just didn't have a name for it. And the happiness hoarding has been going on for a long time. Boy, did the narcissists run with that stuff, right? Great, the magazines are telling them that everyone just has to put up with what we do. The happiness hoarded relationships, when it is an intimate relationship, like a long-term committed relationship, can be very harmful to any children in these relationships. The children are often looking around at the mess that they're living in, and they're very confused when the non-narcissistic parent is telling them, well, kids, didn't we all just have such a good time on Sunday? And the children actually experienced it as a terrifying day where they tiptoed around their narcissistic parents' rage. If you grew up with parents who had a happiness hoarded relationship, you know exactly what I mean. The love bombing phase of the narcissistic relationship can actually add fire to the happiness hoarded relationship. They may have some good stuff at the beginning. Good things may have happened at the beginning, like trips or dinners out or fun experiences of all kinds. And the happiness hoarders, who are like another type of relationship I'll be talking about, the euphoric recallers, who just kept adding those love-bombed moments to their cigar box of happy moments and just hoard all that happiness. The happiness hoarded relationship makes life easy for the narcissist in it, because they can breadcrumb, and the tiny little breadcrumbs are spun into gold and tolerance by the other person in the happiness hoarded relationship. The narcissist can get away with bringing home wilted flowers or the wrong groceries or take you on a crappy night out, and the person in the happiness hoarded relationship works with it. The other struggle is that the narcissist will learn this and will offer less and less, and the happiness hoarder will still work with it. Oh, look, a little flake of gold. This can result in the world who is looking at your relationship thinking that the person in the happiness hoarded relationship is fine. I mean, come on, they just keep saying about all these things that are good in their relationship. But you'd really have to be able to look deeply behind closed doors to see it's not what it seems. Happiness hoarded relationships are like death by 1,000 cuts. At some point, there may be a betrayal or other lapse, or the narcissist may actually get bored and just walk. There is also a Pollyanna feel to these relationships. So without the fight and the emotion, narcissistic folks do get bored over time. The happiness hoarded relationship, when it ends, can leave the non-narcissistic person in the relationship blindsided, feeling that they cultivated gratitude and focused on the good stuff. And all this, they did all the stuff basically that the relationship books told them to do. And when they slowly become aware of what a narcissistic relationship is, some will just never get it and will often slide into depression and despair. The ones who do get it, it will be like crushing their innocent world view and can result in a sense of grief and anger at the world. But unless they work it through and process it, there is a risk of them repeating that error again and again and just finding another narcissistic breadcrumb pusher. Happiness hoarded relationships are really painful to watch. To watch someone try to make something out of very little, and who, in the face of abuse and manipulation and gaslighting and invalidation, will try to stay focused on the junky trinket the narcissistic person gave them, or the dinner out that they had 6 months ago, or the picnic embedded in the nightmare of a vacation. I mean, golly, you just want to give them an A for effort, but it isn't that simple because I don't want to congratulate them on a really trauma-bonded mess. Your body feels abuse, and even if a happiness hoarding mindset tells you to look for the good stuff, in the happiness hoarded relationship, it wouldn't be unusual for this non-narcissistic hoarder to get sick or develop other habits that aren't healthy or become anxious, depressed, or even show obsessions and compulsions. The body feels it, even when the brain is desperately trying to hoard these tiny little good memories and moments to prop up this illusion of a relationship. This kind of relationship pattern can be seen most often when a person is in a relationship with someone who's grandiose, self-righteous, and communal narcissists, since those are the models where there may be more good-looking moments in the relationship. And there is that loss of grace on the day when the person in the happiness hoarded relationship looks up at the photos on the wall and recognizes that they may as well be the fake photos that came with the frames when they bought them in the store. And that's a bad moment. And some folks in these relationships, in these happiness hoarded relationships, never get there. They just keep hoarding the happiness into that little cigar box, even as other people are just walking away from them because they can't witness this person doing this anymore. While some people may actually die within the confines of the happiness hoarded relationship, some people do get out of them. The visual I often have of the people in these relationships, if you're a reader, you'll know what I'm about to talk about, is like Miss Havisham from Charles Dickens' book, Great Expectations. She was the one who sat in her wedding dress forever after being left at the altar. It's similar, right? Just sitting there, always looking through the cigar box of the memories. I guess in modern times, it's like looking at that social media feed of the photos and asking yourself, what happened? It's fascinating because so many people might say, well, no, the happiness hoarded relationship is just somebody being really wise and holding on to the good stuff. But holding on to the good stuff, like I said, props up an illusion. And all of that invalidation and gaslighting leaves a person more and more confused. And they keep trying to talk themselves out of it. It's a massive trauma-bonded justification. But, on Thursday, they actually did have dinner with me. That's what people normally do in relationships. And for those tiny moments to be held on to the ignorance of everything else, can really set up a dangerous precedent and really communicate some bad stuff to other people. Anybody who might have grown up with parents like this knows what a toll it took to watch the one parent extol the virtues of the narcissistic parent for remembering one thing after forgetting 1,000. It's really confusing for kids. It's not good for the person who's in it. If any of you think you're in a happiness hoarded narcissistic relationship, drop that in the comments. We'll go through these other types, and then as time goes on, we'll talk about what to do about this. Thanks again.